God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. God only knows how it's killing you. But there's a kind of love that God only knows. God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. But God only knows the real you. There's a kind of love that God only knows.
Welcome to the 31st episode of Your Journey is Not Over. My name is Tanya Pearson Randolph. This is my own personal journey, and the expressions and opinions are of my own. I own all the rights to my personal journey and to Your Journey is Not Over. Neither are to be used, copied, or edited in any way without my consent. When I left off last time, yes, I had just found out, mind you, many years later, that I was led to believe that the wrong man was my real dad. I will definitely get more into that later on in my journey, but the part that I'm still to this day trying to understand, what was my mom thinking? I have tried for many years to understand my mom, even more so now that I'm traveling on my yellow brick road, my healing journey. I endured a lot by the actions of my mom, and I truly have forgiven her. I did that the final time I was forced to walk away from her and never look back. Mind you, that was after many years of trying to have a normal, healthy relationship with her. That was never going to be possible. She accepted no accountability for anything she had done. I had to forgive her in order to go on and try and lead a healthy life, not only for me, but also my children, and for the generations to come. I wanted to break the cycle of drama and dysfunction. Did I fall into cycles that were dysfunctional? Yes, I did. It was all I knew, all I was taught. But to try and understand my mom, believe me, through the years, I did ask a lot of questions. I knew at a very early age that something wasn't right. She treated me cold and distant, but was very close to my brother, and was very loving and proud and boastful about him, especially around me. There's that game of putting a wedge between us. I never got any kindness from her or anything like that from her. Any special moment for me, she would somehow find a way to make it all about her, or she would find a way to run it and steal any joy I might have or express. I learned to live two different lives. My life and truly who I am was at school and at work or hanging with my friends. And my other life, it was at home. Again, wanting to understand her and how or what could have caused her to be and act like she did towards me. I remember asking my grandma, and she would just say that my mom flying off, starting fights, liking drama, she fed off of it, and that she had always been that way. And through the years, even early in life, I was wanting understanding of my own mom. I can remember many times asking an aunt, someone that had spent their whole life with my mom. Every time I would approach the subject, the few times I felt comfortable enough to ask questions, I would immediately get shut down. It would always be with, "That is my sister." Complete defense mode, like I was some kind of outsider asking questions. Or at least that's how it felt. How dare I question the dysfunction, the trauma, the starvation, the lies that my mother created? How could anyone look away and ignore the obvious, let alone go on defense? I was just trying to understand it. I was her daughter. She and I did have an umbilical cord that attached us for 9 months. So, technically speaking, that made me connected and related, closer than a sibling. So, relatives, the same relatives that my mom would turn on, fight with, start drama with, would also defend, deflect, and make excuses for her. And they would guard her even from her own kids. As I say earlier, yes, I walked away from my mom for a final time. And after most of my life of just trying to be a good daughter, trying to do things for her, even a grown woman with my own kids, I was still trying to have a healthy relationship. But each time I let her back into my life, it always ended the exact same way. There was more trauma, another fight, more horrible words said to me, and then the latter to my children. So there did come a point where I had to walk away to save myself, to put distance between me and the person who allowed and was still bringing nothing but more hurt and trauma and dysfunction. No matter what I did, what I gave, what bills I paid for her, no matter how many all expense trips I paid for her, no matter what, it always ended the exact same way. Me feeling used and discarded like a piece of trash, and I was always heartbroken. People that grew up with a parent like that already know that cycle that you go in. It's almost like a hamster wheel, always trying to get their love and their approval, always trying to get a healthy relationship, but never being able to achieve the unachievable. Looking at it now, she and I never bonded. As I've said before, I bonded with my grandma. So again, I didn't miss what I never had, but I grew up and I wanted that relationship, not only for me and her, but also for my children. I wanted to break cycles. I wanted to heal the past. But through the years, I came to realize that me trying to have a relationship with her, it was impossible. And somehow it always benefited her. She somehow thought my brother and I owed her something, that it was our responsibility to make her life easier. Whether it be money, buying cigarettes, buying her food, her beer, paying her bills, and again, taking her on trips. And I also would even give her spending money for these trips. So with me walking away, I like to call it snapping out of the Stockholm Syndrome. I have some family members that would like to say, I didn't act like a daughter, or I wasn't a good daughter to my mom. Those same people stood back and made excuses. They defended and overlooked and tolerated everything my mom ever did, especially when it came to my brother and I. Again, like we were the outsiders, when in fact, we were the true victims. We were victims to her instability, her dysfunction that continued into our adult lives. Again, trauma can be at any age. I chose to walk away from my mom for my own personal peace. I could never understand it, nor could I heal it if I just kept repeating the same cycles. So, what some might like to classify as me being a bad daughter for walking away, I like to classify that me walking away, of course, with a kiss and a I love you the last time I seen her. And with complete forgiveness in my heart, it was out of love and respect, not only for myself, but also for her. I was breaking cycle. I do want to say this before I close today. Even though I walked away, I didn't go around talking my mom down or calling her names or wishing bad on her. I was taught better than that by my grandma. And even now with my podcast, I'm not trying to be disrespectful towards her, but I merely am telling the truth so that people can see not only what I endured, but how I persevered. And I did not let the dysfunction or the mental and emotional, physical, or sexual abuse define who I am or who I would become. I overcame the obstacles, and I'm on my yellow brick road, my healing journey, to try and understand it and use all that happened to me the way God wants me to. It all happened for a purpose, my purpose. I know I got off in my journey once again, and I will get back on track next week. So this concludes my podcast for today. Everyone have a wonderful weekend. Please join me next week, and always remember, your journey is not over. God bless.
God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. God only knows how it's killing you. But there's a kind of love that God only knows.